Hey guys, I want to thank you for joining. Today we're going to have a financial literacy, personal finance discussion really in regard to how you can better plan for your future. This is catered more specifically to high school through those that are 2 to 3 years out of college. But I think that this can really help anyone in any walk of their life. Just a little bit about myself. I'm an advisory board member for Success and Degree, so my passion is in helping at-risk youth succeed. And what that really means is giving them the attention that they need to be able to make the decisions that they need to make for their future. And with that comes personal finance and understanding of how to manage your money. I got my master's in business at Hampton University. That's also where I spent my undergrad. I spent 2 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers accounting firm. I had a 1.5 year stint as an entrepreneur, and now I am working internal audit at Verizon and AOL. So that's currently where I stand. But overall, my passion is in helping at-risk youth. I'm also a motivational speaker and have done quite a bit to assist in lifting up our community. So without further ado, I kind of just want to talk to you guys for a second before we jump into really digging into the details here. When I was a kid, I had this dream. I had this idea. How can I be a millionaire? When I'm 30, when I'm 40 years old, man, I sure would love to be financially free. Now, coming from a life of poverty or less fortunate, I think that I was under the impression when I looked up at all these people who were great. I had this idea that if I just have the mindset, I'll be like that one day. And a part of that is true, but there's a little bit that you start to understand that is false to that statement. If I just dream that I'll be rich and that I'll be wealthy, maybe I'll be rich and I'll be wealthy. But you guys, dreaming is not enough. It's not enough. You've got to put deadlines on all your dreams. You've got to create a list of goals and say this is when that goal is due. The combination of all of those goals allows you to make your dreams come true. I'm going to say that again. The combination of all your goals with deadlines attached to them allows you to make your dreams come true. So if you want to be a millionaire by the time you're 30, you got to look into the details. You've got to understand, what does that even mean? A lot of you guys are sitting there, man, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to be a millionaire. Understand what that means. You've got to make $100,000 each year for 10 straight years in order for that to be possible, at least. So how do you do that? I'm not saying it's impossible. By all means, it's possible. There's a lot of money circulating in this world, and all you got to do is reach out and find out, how do I get a little bit of it? So in reality, guys, in order to have this life that you want to live, the dreams, the goals, the ambitions that you foresee for yourself as far as financially is concerned, I think you've got to start to change your mind. Change the way you think. You've got to look at these great people, and you got to understand that they didn't just get there by sitting on their butts. They didn't just get there by just wishing. They dreamt something. And then they said, how am I going to achieve it? And then they started giving themselves goals. And then for every goal, they said, I got to finish this by this date. By this date, I got to finish the next goal. And every day, they're working towards their dream by creating goals and deadlines. Hold yourself accountable. If you can't do that, find someone who will assist you in holding you accountable. If there's no one out there, just give me a call. I'll hold you accountable to your financial freedom. Now guys, it's not easy. I wanna be straightforward with you guys. The reality of it is I went into business because I realized how much I didn't know. When I sit around the room and I look in business class, and as a freshman I looked at the seniors and the grad students, I'm like, man, you guys are smart. But in reality, every MBA is not a millionaire. It takes more than just the knowledge. It's an attitude. It's a tenacious approach at success. You know, there's a saying that says you can only have 3 things in life, and you can only take 3 things with you. Now let's talk about what I mean by that. So in my life, there's family, family and friends. There's loved ones. There's financial freedom, and then there's kind of your career, your work-life balance, things of that nature. And then there's also kids. Now, I mentioned 5 things right there that are pretty important, fairly important. Kids, financial freedom, loved ones, family, friends, work-life balance. All these things are important, but how do I focus? How do I focus that? Because if you give a little bit too much over here, you're not gonna do as great over here. That's kind of what the saying goes. And if I'm too involved in my relationship, then maybe I'm not doing as great at work. So that's kind of maybe why you see some people that are going through divorces, because man, I'm giving too much attention to that, and I need to focus on my work, and now I'm at work way too much, and my kids and my wife are suffering. You've got to change your mind. A lot of people think that you can only focus on a few things, and now I agree to an extent. Now you got to remember, guys, there are 24 hours in every single day, and if you want to be successful, you've got to start to decide, what am I going to do for every single one of those hours? How much am I going to sleep? If health is one of those things that's important to you, when am I going to work out? How am I going to get in shape? How am I going to eat right? How am I going to love my kids unconditionally? How am I going to tell my wife how beautiful she is every single day? And when I walk through the doors at work, how am I going to be the greatest? And above all else, how am I going to give back? All of that summarized, how do I have financial freedom? That's what you guys have to focus on. You've got to understand in a 24-hour period, how do I summarize everything that I have and achieve it? Now, I agree that you have to focus on a few things in order to be successful at them, but I also believe that if you are relentless, that you'll be successful no matter what. You want to have 5 things on your list, and find out how you can achieve 5 things. You know, as soon as I start having kids, I have none right now, but that'll be my number 1 priority, followed by my wife. Now, everything else will become secondary. However, if you strategically plan, your kids are at school for 8 hours a day, you know, your wife's busy for 8 hours a day, how do you kick butt during those times when no one's watching? What are you doing? You should take out a notepad, and every time no one's around, find out, what am I doing? What are you doing? Start to think about that. What are you doing? And if you start to look at that data and realize that, man, I'm not doing anything to achieve my goals. I'm playing video games. I'm surfing the web, doing God knows what. When I'm alone, I'm working towards my dreams, and it makes me excited. When I'm alone, like now, I'm inspiring. I'm motivating. I'm producing content so that the next generation, the millennials that I'm with, or the generation that comes next, so that Generation X even, that they have an understanding of financial freedom from the minds of someone with a different perspective. My goal is for people to understand how this world works just a little bit better, the way that I've learned over the course of my years in business. I'm trying to give it back because I want to even the odds here, guys. I want to even the odds. There's a lot of people at the top that remain at the top in their little niche. The information that's needed to succeed is only passed along to a certain select few. But I'm here to tell you guys that the door is open. All you gotta do is reach out, turn the knob. Everything that you need to be successful you guys can do it. So without further ado, I want to give you guys a little bit of a peek into my life, how I manage my personal finance, but I'm going to do it through the eyes of you. I'm going to start with understanding, how do you guys budget? How do you understand your expenses? How do you understand how to manage your personal finance? Given that this is catered more so to high school and a little bit post-college, a little bit of the information will be a little bit slower. I really want to focus in on the details because it's extremely important that you get a really great foundation, and from there we'll start to move along and start to make a little bit more bigger decisions together. So we're going to start with, how do we budget? How do I find out how much I'm going to make? How do I understand my tuition expenses, and how do I manage those types of things going into college? How do I make better decisions from that front? What's the impact of the decisions that I make? If I'm going to get a dog, how much is that going to cost me? If I have a girlfriend, how much is that going to affect my expenses? If I have out of state, if I go to college out of state versus in-state, what's the difference there? Those are the types of things we're going to cover. We're going to also look into credit cards. We're going to look into long-term and short-term debt. And when we start to kind of really propel, as I continue to make these videos for you guys, we'll talk about a lot of other things. How do you fight your way out of debt? How do you put up the boxing gloves and say you're not going to take this anymore? Okay, how do I start to look at my credit score? How do I start to affect interest rates? How do I start to build true wealth, true value? How do I shop for my first car and my first home? Those are the types of things that we're going to cover here. But I want you to remember that the overarching theme, no matter what we discuss, is you've got to be tenacious. You've got to look at it and you've got to understand that I'm not going to go down without a fight. I've got to make sure that with every little piece of detail that I put in my budget, that I'm challenging myself. Am I being the best person I can be in order to truly achieve my goals? Whatever your goals are, they're achievable. Write it down, put it on paper. So right now we're going to write it down. So join me here. Thank you.